welcome to Midnight Slumber. I am your host, Zach Miller. Join me as we take a journey through the alternate realities that take place after midnight. This week, our story involves the setup of a show. However, when a few friends sneak in early, a guard becomes rather furious. Enjoy this story called The Angry Guard. My hands begin to grow heavy and sweaty as I stand here, holding up this large LED panel. I have it facing the dummy standing in the middle of the stage, while my boss stands out in the middle of the small auditorium. I look over my shoulder towards him, hoping to see a smile or indication that he likes what he sees, but he has no expression other than contemplative. I wish he would hurry up and make a decision. The show will start soon, and I would like to move on to set up some other displays. A loud percussive sound comes from across the stage where the props are being held. I look in that direction, and one of my colleagues, who is holding a chair, looks at me and says, "Excuse me."
"That's good,"
my boss finally says. He makes his way back as my friend brings the stand over, and we tighten the light down and place an X on the floor. This is so we, or anyone who has to touch this light, knows where it needs to go. As my boss steps up on the stage, we all grab a few wooden walls and slide them into place. The walls are about 10 feet tall and are all painted a yellow and a light brownish red. It's hard to tell what this looks like from on stage, but I know it has some meaning to it. As we slide the last wall into place, a few people head backstage, including my boss. I take a step back to look at everything. Unfortunately, the stage is too small to see the complete picture. I hop down the 3-foot-high stage and make my way up the auditorium. The auditorium isn't huge, only 6 to 8 rows deep at most if you count the two tiny sections up top. It's also only about 30 feet wide at best, which it tapers from small to wide back to small at the top. Which as I reach the top, I take a seat in one of the chairs. It's comfier than I expected, which will be a pleasant surprise for my friends and guests who are supposed to be coming to the show. Looking out onto the stage, everything looks great. The whole place, for as small as it is, looks terrific. The ceiling has so much junk on it that it looks intentionally beautiful. The walls have a charming fabric running up and down, along with big red circles that act as sound dampeners. The red carpet looks nice and clean as if it was just newly put in, and the stage looks like a beautiful piece of abstract art that somehow blends everything together. As I get up, I notice some of the chairs have names on them. Not embroidered or anything, but a small postcard in the seat. My girlfriend's name and some of my friends are on the same row as me, and a few in the rows around us. As I start to read through the names, the door quietly opens behind me, and a few of my friends sneak in. I greet them and laugh at the fact that they got by the guard somehow. They give me a high five and are chuckling at what they did. Before I can ask them how they got past the guard, they point and ask about the guy on stage, if he is the speaker. I turn to see who they are talking about, and I laugh. "No," I tell them. The guy on the stage is a young college student who is one of the interns helping us. However, he is the stand-in for the camera guy as he is the same height as the speaker. Before I can turn back to my friends, my boss steps back out on stage and calls me to come up. My friends go and take their seats while I go back to work. Stepping back up on stage, my boss tells me to follow him. He needs help backstage. We walk behind the fake walls that we have set up and step into a darker section of the stage. The door to the back room is a heavy wooden door that looks like it is getting ready to fall off its hinges. As the door gets pushed open, we walk into a very narrow hallway with more wooden props leaning against the walls. The hallway is well lit, and I can hear a lot of commotion going on around the corner. As we make the turn, the room opens up into a massive storage unit. This area must be 30 times the size of the room we were just in. Storage shelves running from floor to ceiling are filled with boxes, all kinds of lighting equipment, and props. Some people back here are driving loaders and taking large boxes off the shelves for tonight's show. The boxes are so big that whatever is inside them will easily take up the entire stage. While we are walking through the place, we pass by a few offices tucked away in this giant room. We veer off to the left, and out from one of the offices comes the director of the event. Next to him is his assistant, who is older than all of us. We ask his assistant if he can point us towards the computer room, as we have some slides and effects that we need to set up. He tells us he will take us there, and quickly turns. We follow him going right past this makeshift office and towards a big set of metal doors. He pulls out a key card and slides it across the heavy lock. Loud clicks echo through the room, and the doors slowly swing open. Inside this room is a vast set of monitors and people seated around them frantically working. The assistant leaves us, and my boss walks up to a small empty computer and puts our flash drive in. As he pulls up the files, I begin looking around at all the monitors. There are hundreds of them on this wall that is super tall and extremely wide. There are a few screens that grab my attention. They are the monitors that are showing the feed of the lobby, which is packed with people. There are far more people in the lobby than can fit in that small auditorium. As the people continue to pile into the crowd waiting for the doors to open, I see the security guard turn his attention towards the camera focused on his area. He is staring deep into the camera and starting to walk towards it. He seems to be staring at me. The guard's hand reaches up towards the camera, but it starts to come through the monitor. His arm follows suit, and by the time his head comes through the monitor, I snap out of the trance and know he is coming for me. An angry scowl crosses his face, and he says,
You are the one who let them in. I will get you for that.
He continues to pull the rest of himself through the monitor, but his limbs become spiny and lunky like a spider. I take off, running out of the room as fast as I can. Bursting through the metal doorway, I speed back through the offices and storage room. As I get close to the main doors to let me back out on the stage, a guy in the hallway hands me a small neon green sign and tells me to place it up on the second story. I take the sign, but I am confused at the same time, as there is no second story. I stumble through the doorway and run past the walls we had set up. As I step out onto the main stage, a floodlight blares on, blinding me for a split second. My vision quickly adjusts to the blinding light, and my jaw drops as I see the auditorium expanding upward and outward. We not only have a second story now, but we also have the 12th, 13th, 14th, and it keeps going. The spider guard bursts through the doors behind me, and I can see that he has now grown long, sharp fangs. I have to get to the second story. So I jump off the stage, but instead of just landing on the floor below, I apparently put enough force to skip the first 7 rows and go up high enough that I land on the floor of the second story. Shocked doesn't even begin to explain what I feel right now. Clinking sounds of the guard's sharp legs on the stage snap me out of it. I place the second story entrance sign, which reads open, and I turn to face the guard on stage. The doors behind me fling open, and people come rushing past me as the guard stares deep into my soul. He snarls at the fact that I have now opened the doors without his permission. He turns towards the walls and starts to climb up them, heading to the floor I am on. I look up and see that the auditorium has stopped growing. It is now 20 stories tall. I wonder if I can make an even more significant jump if I try. The guard lands on my level, and before I can jump, he reaches his long arm towards me, but my body begins to rise up rapidly out of the way. The guard's face has the same shocked and confused look that I do. How in the heck am I floating upward? I pass by row after row, seeing them each fill up until I reach the 10th story, where I see a seat with my name on it. My friends are all seated around it and cheer as they see me come to a soft landing. I greet all 50 of them, which they say some of them are still running late. I ask one of my friends where my girlfriend and brother are, and they say that they are in the lobby fighting off some spiders with bug spray. They have brought an extra can for me. I thank my friend and head towards the lobby to help them. They were thinking ahead, and I need that spray if we are going to enjoy this show in peace. Thank you for listening to tonight's episode. Please leave a comment and check out our social media on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We would love to hear your thoughts of tonight's episode. I'm your host, Zach Miller, and thanks for listening. Have a good midnight slumber.